Hello out there. Welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. Got a question for you folks. You ever dated somebody or been with somebody and you just thought to yourself, well, there's just something not quite right about this person. I don't know what's wrong with them. Well, an Oxford professor may have the answer. This is from Huffington Post. Aliens are breeding with humans to save Earth, Oxford professor claims. Aliens are just next to us. Extraterrestrials are breeding with human beings to produce a superspecies which could one day save the planet from climate change, according to an Oxford University professor. Alien human hybrids could be walking among us, Dr. Young-Hae Chi, an academic at Oxford's Oriental Institute, claimed. Dr. Chi openly believes there's a strong correlation between alien abductions and changes to Earth's climate. Oh, there's an interesting hypothesis. The Oxford student, a campus newspaper, reported. In a lecture given to a conference in 2012, Dr. Chi said it is not only scientists and theologians, but also non-human species who appear to be greatly concerned about the survivability of the human species. A more recent attempt by the professor to have the subject discussed at the prestigious university's debate club was rejected last year, the Oxford student said. Dr. Chi, who is from South Korea, told the newspaper that aliens are just next to us, but we can't see them. He said, if they are far, they shouldn't be concerned about us. I don't think they are away from us. They are just next to us. We can't see them. We can use an analogy of fish, which can think and perceive things only in the way that they can, and humans also perceive only in the way they can, so our perception of the world is limited by our organs. In a 2012 address, Dr. Chi said, perhaps human civilizations is coming to an end and that extraterrestrials can sense this. The professor said he agreed with theories that aliens are intent on producing hybrids. It may be more or less assumed that the hybrid project is a response to the impending demise of human civilizations, Dr. Chi said. So there you have it. That strange, significant other of yours might have been a freaking alien, folks. Who knows? Maybe Dr. Chi's right. I don't think so, but maybe he is. This comes from No Ridge Science. Baking soda, safe and easy way to prevent autoimmune diseases. This might be some pseudo shit, but let's see what it has to say. Normally, the immune system can protect the body from infection and disease, but when things go wrong, the immune system can attack healthy cells, tissues, and organs. This can cause autoimmune diseases, which include type 1 diabetes, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, and other diseases. In the current study, researchers from Augusta University in Georgia tested if baking soda could help prevent autoimmune diseases. Baking soda is known as a natural cleaner. It can provide lots of health benefits. Many people use it to kill bad bacteria in the mouth and prevent tooth decay. The researchers found that drinking baking soda could help fight the inflammation of autoimmune diseases. In rats and healthy people, drinking baking soda helped the stomach make more acid to digest the next meal. It also helped prevent the stomach from mounting a protective immune response. According to the researchers, baking soda could tell the stomach it is a hamburger, not a bacterial infection. Well, I guess that'd be handy. In addition, the researchers found that drinking baking soda could help slow the progress of kidney disease. The team suggests the shift from inflammatory to anti-inflammatory profile occurs in multiple regions in the body after drinking baking soda. It can be a really safe and easy way to treat inflammatory disease. One author of the study, Dr. Paul O'Connor, the finding is published in the Journal of Immunology. Well, I guess it's a legit journal. Who knows? Sodium bicarbonate, baking soda. This is also from No Ridge. Within 50 years, the dead users on Facebook may outnumber the living. In a study, researchers found that within 50 years, there will be more dead people than living people on Facebook. This trend may have grave implications for how humans treat digital heritage in the future. The research was conducted by a team from the Oxford Internet Institute, OII. In the study, the team predicted that at least 1.4 billion members will die before 2100 based on the 2018 user levels. Their analysis showed that the dead could outnumber the living by 2070. The number of dead people may reach as high as 4.9 billion before the end of the century. The team also analyzed two extreme scenarios. In one scenario, there was no new users joining as of 2018. Under these conditions, the dead users from Asia increased rapidly to account for nearly 44% of the total death by 2100. Nearly half of the Asian dead users come from India and Indonesia. In the second scenario, Facebook continues to grow by 13% globally every year. If this happens, Africa will make up a growing share of dead users. Nigeria will become a major hub in this scenario, while Western users will only account for a small portion of dead users. The findings suggest that it is important to think about who has the right to all this data, how should it be managed in the best interest of the families and friends of the dead, and how the data can be used by future historians to understand the past. It's interesting. You guys probably all have it too, but I have friends that have passed away that their profiles are still on Facebook, and it's kind of cool because you can go back and sort of, you get to see a lot more about their sense of humor, the things they cared about, pictures, obviously, and things they post and stuff. But it is a little weird. It's to see that last post by them, especially people that weren't sick and things like that. But this comes from Futurism. To prevent the apocalypse, MIT says to study machine behavior. Computer scientists and engineers shouldn't be the only people shaping the future of artificial intelligence, according to a group led by researchers from the MIT Media Lab. Quote, "We're seeing the rise of machines with agency, machines that are actors making decisions and taking actions autonomously," MIT's Yad Rawan said in a blog post. This calls for a new field of scientific study that looks at them not solely as products of engineering and computer science, but additionally as a new class of actors with their own behavioral patterns and ecology. Rawan and colleagues call this new field machine behavior, and it could ensure we reap the potential benefits of AI while avoiding the pitfalls. On Thursday, the group published a paper in the Journal of Nature describing its vision for this new field of study. They suggest that while experts in the fields of biology, economics, psychology, and beyond are studying AI, their work is taking place in silos. The hope is that giving a name to the wider field of AI research will help forge connections between these currently disparate explorations of the tech. The people we have working together in the field of AI, in other words, the more people we have working in the field of AI, in other words, the more likely we are to understand how AIs behave and their potential impact on the world. And that, as the authors write in their paper, is essential to our ability to control their actions, reap their benefits, and minimize their harms. It does seem to be kind of a common thing here that everybody thinks that, well, I say everybody, it's a big brush, but a lot of people think that if we create artificial intelligence, it's not going to eventually see us in a positive light. It's certainly not going to look at us as their creators. And I don't know that that's necessarily true, but I guess it's better to be safe than sorry. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. This is from The Verge. FCC approves SpaceX's plan to fly internet beaming satellites in lower orbit. This is a big deal, folks, if this gets pulled off. The Federal Communications Commission has approved SpaceX's request to fly a large swath of its future internet beaming satellites at a lower orbit than originally planned. The approval was a major regulatory hurdle the company needed to clear in order to start launching its first operational satellites from Florida next month. In November, SpaceX sent a request to the FCC to partially revise plans for the company's satellite internet constellation known as Starlink. Under SpaceX's original agreement with the commission, the company had permission to launch 4,425 Starlink satellites into orbits that ranged between 1,110 to 1,325 kilometers above the Earth. But then SpaceX decided it wanted to fly 1,584 of those satellites in different orbits. Thanks to what it had learned from its first two test satellites, 1010A and B, instead of flying them at 1,150 kilometers, the company now wants to fly them much lower at 550 kilometers. And now the FCC is on board. Quote, "This approval underscores the FCC's confidence in SpaceX's plan to deploy its next-generation satellite constellation and connect people around the world with reliable and affordable broadband service," SpaceX President Gwynne Shotwell said in a statement. SpaceX argues that by operating satellites at this orbit, The Starlink constellation will have much lower latency and signal, cutting down transmission time to just 15 milliseconds. That's good for gamers. The lower orbit also means SpaceX can get the same coverage with 16 fewer satellites, and the company argues the change will help cut down on space debris. Yeah, 16 pieces less space debris. At 550 kilometers, satellites are more affected by Earth's atmosphere and are pulled out of orbit much more quickly than vehicles that are higher up. So if any of the Starlink satellites happen to fail and become inoperable, they should fall out of orbit and burn up in the atmosphere fairly quickly. However, not everyone was happy about SpaceX's updated plan. OneWeb, another company developing a large satellite internet network, and satellite operator Kepler Communications both filed petitions to deny SpaceX's request for a change to the FCC. They both argue that since SpaceX uses similar frequencies, the Starlink satellites could interfere with their satellites if moved to a lower orbit. But ultimately, the FCC did not think interference would be an issue. Quote, "We find that the modification proposed by SpaceX does not present significant interference problems and is in the public interest," the FCC wrote in its approval. Yeah, the closer you put a satellite, I mean, it sounds silly, but the closer you put a satellite to Earth, the better, because of signal strength, the amount of signal strength needed to get up to the satellite and thus back down. But closer means that radio wave has to travel less distance, thereby it gets there quicker. It is speed of light, but it does build in some latency when the satellites are really, really far away from Earth, and that's not good for people that do things on the internet that require, pretty good update rates, like I said, like gamers, like people that play Fortnite and first-person shooters and stuff. It's really important to them to not have a tremendous amount of latency, because latency means that someone's shooting you in the face in the game before you even see them. From Futurism again, new research: the world is sadder, angrier than ever before. Oh, all you have to do is go out in public and you'll see that. The world's not a happy place, at least not according to the people living in it. This week, an analytics firm Gallup shared the results of a global survey designed to gauge the world's emotional temperature. Their report suggests that people are sadder, angrier, and more worried than ever before recorded, findings that could have profound implications on global health. Yeah, man, I mean, if you're bummed out. For its 2018 Global State of Emotions report, Gallup conducted more than 151,000 interviews with adults living in more than 140 countries. They asked the survey respondents questions about how they felt the day prior, such as whether they smiled or laughed a lot and whether they felt sadness or anger. They found that the number of people who said they'd experienced anger increased by 2 percentage points over the previous year, while both worry and sadness increased by 1 percentage point, setting new record highs for all three negative emotions. Yeah, it's 1 percentage point. Research has noted the impact negative feelings can have on a person's physical health. Studies have linked anger to an elevated risk of heart attack and stroke, while chronic worry and sadness can be signs of anxiety disorders and depression, which carry an increased risk of heart disease. If people continue to experience these negative emotions in greater numbers, we could be headed toward a future in which the global population is increasingly unhealthy, a situation that carries its own troubling side effects. I guess that's true. I don't know. Cheer the fuck up, people. Jesus Christ. This too shall pass. I mean, whatever it is. I'm just being a dick. I know some people can't. It's chemistry in the brain, and you can't just tell people to cheer up. But, man, I wish you could. Because living the dream is a much better way to live. Trust me. Also from Futurism, scientists say alien life now seems inevitable and possibly imminent. The cosmoses are filled, the cosmos, there's only one, are filled with roughly Earth-sized exoplanets. Various moons, comets, and planets have stores of water, organic molecules, and amino acids like those that make up life on Earth. Cathal O'Donnell, a 3D bioprinting researcher at St. Vincent's Hospital in Melbourne, likes those odds. He argues in The Conversation, that's the name of a publication, the abundance of potentially habitable worlds out there makes the discovery of extraterrestrial life inevitable and possibly imminent. O'Donnell argues that the sheer vastness of space and quantity of exoplanets orbiting inhabitable zones, the sweet spots where they're not too close or nor too far from their star, makes the discovery of extraterrestrial life overwhelmingly likely, citing research that calculated that billions of such planets may exist. And just because a planet doesn't have a temperate climate doesn't mean life couldn't exist there. O'Donnell argues that terrestrial life can be found in Antarctica, in deep-sea hydrothermal vents, and other seemingly inhospitable settings. So, yeah, man, I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense, but define life. I mean, technically, I guess bacteria is alive because it moves around on its own and does stuff. But that's not going to build a rocket ship anytime soon. Or maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe time works different on other planets. I don't think that's the truth, but I watched that movie with, they went to the black hole. What was that called? Interstellar, maybe? And they were on one planet, and they were only there for like 6 minutes, and when they came back, they'd been gone for like 6 years or some ridiculous shit. So, I don't know. Sometimes I just think they make this shit up to keep us confused. I'm kidding. The fact remains that we've only encountered life in one place, Earth, but O'Donnell predicts that we'll be able to probe for life in the near future. Quote, the ancient question, are we alone, has graduated from being a philosophical musing to a testable hypothesis, O'Donnell writes. We should be prepared for the answer. Well, let's see what you find out there. Also from Futurism, Hubble data, the universe is expanding faster and faster. We have bad news for any cosmologists out there. You have a lot of work ahead of you. There's long been a discrepancy between the calculated theoretical rate at which the universe ought to be expanding based on our knowledge of the Big Bang and the rate at which scientific data says it's actually expanding. Measurements of the light emitted by distant stars suggest that the universe is expanding 9% more rapidly than it was at the beginning of time. Some thought it was an experimental error, but new data from the Hubble Space Telescope all but confirms that the faster rate is correct. It's a moment of reckoning for astronomers that now raises the inevitable question, why? New research, which CNN reports has been accepted for publication in the Astrophysical Journal, brings the odds that the faster rate of expansion was an error in measurement down to 1 in 100,000. In short, it's very likely that the universe has started to expand at a faster rate over the last 14 billion years of its existence. Scientists have suggested a couple of possible explanations. One involves the fields of dark energy that appeared and vanished when the universe was just 100,000 years old, but so far, none of those ideas have been verified. Quote, the mismatch has been growing and has now reached a point that is really impossible to dismiss as a fluke, Johns Hopkins University astronomer Adam Rees told CNN. The disparity could not plausibly occur by chance. So, looks like there's a force in space that we have not necessarily accounted for, because not only are things moving apart, but they're picking up speed, and that doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. So there's a good one for Neo and Sherfu to explain to us at some point. From Futurism, experts warn against roaming emotional attachments. Experts warn against forming emotional attachments with robots. Of course, we just talked about sex robots last night. No matter how cute present-day robots are designed to look, no matter how smiley their virtual faces and chipper their beeps and boops, they will never, repeat, never love you back. Got to get a puppy. The stories of people mourning robots like Jibu, a smart home assistant that announced its own death when its servers scheduled to get shut down last month, are heartwarming, but they also reveal a way, according to the Associated Press, that marketers could exploit the emotions of people, especially kids, by programming robots to seem more emotionally savvy than they really are. Humans will bond with seemingly anything, whether it's a robotic vacuum cleaner that gets pitifully stuck in a corner or Jibu. But that's because we tend to ascribe intention and consciousness to things that seem to act with purpose, experts told the Associated Press. Quote, the performance of empathy is not empathy, MIT AI researcher Sherry Turkle told the AP. Simulated thinking might be thinking, but simulated feeling is never feeling. Simulated love is never love. When a robot does something adorable or seems to have genuine emotions, Turkle suggests that it's all because of a human-written script and unfortunately not the basis of a true friendship. Aw, that's a bummer, because I like machines. I like machines better than people most of the time. I gotta be honest with you. Probably why I work with machines so much. From GeekWire, last article here. Wizards of the Coast hires game industry vet James Ohlen, O-H-L-E-N, I'm going to say Ohlen, to open new studio in Austin. Gaming veteran James Ohlen has been lured back to the industry. He took a break from last year with an opportunity that was too good to refuse. He'll be running a new studio based in Austin, Texas for Wizards of the Coast, the Renton, Washington-based creators of Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering. Olin, a 23-year veteran of the games industry, previously worked on Baldur's Gate, Baldur's Gate 2, and Neverwinter Nights, all based on the Dungeons & Dragons universe. The former BioWare creative director will be charged with creative development of brand new intellectual property at Wizards of the Coast. Quote, I didn't think that I would be coming back to the game industry so soon, but working with Wizards is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Olin said in a news release Wednesday. Quote, our mutual love of RPGs, that's role-playing games, world building, and interactive storytelling is a perfect match. In an interview this week with GamesIndustry.biz, Olin, who is already living in Austin, said he had been turning down most offers to get back to work, but a call from Wizards President Chris Cox, C-O-C-K-S, Cox, sounded intriguing. Quote, D&D has been a huge part of my life since I was 8 years old, Olin told GameIndustry.biz. The Baldur's Gate games were very personal to me, and Star Wars is another thing I love. This is just an opportunity to work on projects as personal to me as the good old days of the 90s and early 2000s. It was the most fun. I was a little bit of a workaholic because I loved it, and Wizards is giving me an opportunity to return to those personal projects. Cox said that Olin is joining Wizards Art at a critical time in the evolution of the company, which is a subsidiary of Hasbro Incorporated. James brings experience in creative direction and studio leadership that will prove important as we look to develop compelling new experiences that engage gamers all over the world, Cox said. I'm going to say Cox, C-O-C-K-S, said it in a news release. With a successful history in tabletop gaming and trading cards, Cox added in the new GameIndustry.biz interview that the first step will be to, quote, build a franchise that will endure like Magic and D&D, and then figure out the right platform for the new world to express itself. Sounds fun. I'm a big old geek. I used to play Dungeons & Dragons a lot and all those kind of role-playing games. And, we've interviewed people on the show that actually wrote those games back in the day, those original Dungeons and Dragons games when it was TSR. I think we might have even interviewed somebody from Wizards of the Coast. These people were retired, sort of the folks that that started this whole thing with Gary Gygax back in the day. So if you get a chance, go check those out. Those are back like episodes 10 through 30 or something. We went through like a whole bunch of interviews with some of those folks. It was really cool, talking to these people and getting to record that. Now it's out there for posterity. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll wrap it up there. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons as usual and help me continue to keep this podcast growing like crazy. I really appreciate it. It's been nuts, and it's all because of you, the fans out there. Thanks for all the feedback and comments and everything on YouTube and for sharing us. We really appreciate it. And make sure you check us out, www.noshitcast.com, KNOWSHITCAST.com. And we'll catch you all next time. Bye, Sickles.